Hello everyone and welcome back to Farming Simulator 19. We are going to do an entirely new game for this series. This is our old save from Goldcrest Valley, the one we're working on where we're going to have the animals. That's not going anywhere. We're still going to do videos for that. This is going to be a brand new one. We're going to do it on the hardest mode, which is start from scratch. That is the one where you have very little money, you don't own any land, you don't have any equipment. It's the hardest that you can possibly do. We will change a few settings, but it's going to be on that difficulty. We're going to move it over here to No Man's Land. This is, in my opinion, one of the hardest maps because there's literally nothing. There's one tiny little field and a bunch of trees, and that's about it. We're going to stick with the same character we always use. This is my mod screen, what I wanted to show you before. These are all the mods that I have in the game that I have downloaded. As you can see, it's a ton. There's a ton of cool stuff here. Now, I don't use everything in this. I do use some of it. And depending on the situation, I could use everything in it. But it was something that I thought was just really, really cool. So we're going to get this loaded up, and I will get back to you as soon as it's done loading. Alright, so here we are on No Man's Land. This is the very beginning of the game. We don't need to do the tutorial and all that stuff. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of that. This is the map screen. As you can see, there are a ton of different squares that you can buy on this map. The one that we are going to buy first is going to be 26. You can see that brown rectangle. That is the only field on the entire map, and it is tiny. It's also overgrown and nasty. We have to completely redo the field. But this is where we'll be starting our game out. So we're going to go ahead and buy that. Every single one of these squares will be $85,000. And we start off with $500,000 is all we have. As you see, we have nothing. We have no vehicles whatsoever. So out of that $500,000, we got to buy our first plot of land, and we have to buy everything we need to actually start working that land. So the machinery we buy is going to be tiny. There's just really no other option. All right, we're in subsoilers now, and this is what we want here. This subsoiler also acts as a plow. Now, it needs 420 horsepower in order to operate, but this is what we're going to use to make all of our fields. So I've got to find a tractor that has at least 420 horsepower in order to operate that thing. Because plowing with one of the tiny tractors is not going to be an option for us. That's going to take way too long. This one isn't gigantic, but it's a lot better than the smaller ones. So first of all, let's go in here to our finances, and let's just borrow as much as humanly possible. That way we have as much money to start off with as we possibly can. Now we're going to have to pay interest on this loan and everything like that, like we did in the other game, but in the very beginning it's going to be crucial that we have as much startup capital as possible. So that brought us up to $914,000. That gives us a little bit better cushion. So we're going to have to go to large tractors first, because that's the only thing that's going to have that kind of horsepower. This is the Vulture, what I normally use. I love this tractor, but unfortunately, as you can see, 400 horsepower is the max for this guy. That's not going to cut it. I need 420. Now we could go with one of these bigger tractors, but there's another Vulture mod that I downloaded, the S series here. It's the same tractor essentially, but if you look when you go to the engine setup, 435 horsepower is the max that this can have. That will cut it. So that's what we're going to go with. We are going to change the color. We will make it purple. And for the rim color, I'm thinking maybe like a bright pink would be kind of amazing. I mean, we could always make it match. You know, we can make it orange, or we can make it match the tractor and make it purple. But I kind of dig the way the pink looks with the purple. I think that's pretty sharp. See, there's the purple on purple. I think that's kind of overkill. We could always do black, but I don't really like that either. So I'm thinking pink is going to be the color to go with here. I like that. Okay, so we're going to do that. We have the horsepower cranked up, and I think that's all we're going to do for right now with it, because we want to save money if we can. That's going to be $330-some thousand as it is. So that's quite a substantial amount of money. already off the top. So now we have that. We're going to buy this subsoiler we need for $82,000. That will enable us to start plowing up land and creating fields to grow crops in to make some more cash. We are going to have a seeder. We're going to have a trailer. And we're going to have a harvester and a header for the harvester. So we're going to buy small here to stay within our budget because we only have $490-some thousand left. So we're going to buy a tiny little trailer. That'll be sufficient to start with at least. We'll buy a bigger one later. We're going to go ahead and buy a chainsaw because we got to clear a lot of trees. That's going to be important. And we will grab the harvester here in a minute. Let's see. Let's change some of these settings before we get going. We're going to turn the traffic off because that's always a pain in the butt. Automatic engine start, I want on. Fuel usage, I think we'll put down to low so we don't have to refill the fuel very often. We want the helpers to buy the stuff they need. We're going to do fast for the plant growth simply because anything other than that, the videos are, nothing will get done. Basically, it'll be 2 or 3 videos in between harvest, and that's just not going to work. Crop destruction, we obviously want off. Turn off the sieve. We're leaving the lime on, so we'll do lime on this one, but I'm not messing with the weeds. The weeds are a pain in the ass. And that's extra equipment I got to buy that I can't afford right now. So that'll work. We've left most of the settings the same as they are. The economic difficulty is on normal now. I might switch it to easy later. Depends on how long it takes to make money. If the series starts dragging too much because I can't make enough money to buy anything to keep it interesting, then I'll probably turn it down to easy. But we'll see. But let's take this over to our new farm and get everything set up. We're going to need this, and we're going to need the chainsaw to begin cutting down trees and all of that. We're also going to have to buy a building that can actually process the wood that we cut. On a normal map, you would take it to the lumber area and you could sell your logs there, but this map does not have that. So we have to either make wood chips out of it and sell the wood chips at a sell anything point, or we have to put a building in that can process the trees. Now, unfortunately, I have just the mod for that, so I will put that in when we get up here to the property. It's not very far. It's right up here at this lake. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of trees. There's some open land too, but there's a lot of trees to clear, and there's a lot of big rocks that are going to be a pain in the butt. Now, I can take care of the trees and the rocks all in one little pass if I want to. There is that option on this map, but I'm going to leave the trees. But I will get rid of the rocks, because the trees I can cut down and process and make a little bit of money off of. The rocks, there's no way to get rid of them. So, but this is our property. We have a pile of logs already here. So I'm going to put the building for processing the trees right by those logs. It's in here somewhere in miscellaneous. There we go. Wood crusher direct sell point. That's what we want. So we are going to turn this guy and try to fit him in over here somewhere by these logs. Someplace where it'll be relatively even and it will actually sit and be close enough to where we don't have to go too far. Alright, this will work. It's going to cost us just over $55,000 to put it in. So that's done. So now we have a way to process these logs. So we're going to pull up here a little bit, and I'm going to walk up and show you how the whole wood cutting thing works. You pull your chainsaw out like that by pushing down, and you have to get the green circle to appear, and then you just push B and hold it, and it cuts the log. Then you walk over and pick the log up, like so, and throw it into the wood chipper. As it goes down, it gets chipped up unless it gets stuck like that, in which case you have to do something you should never do in real life, which is climb onto the guy and try to get him out of there. But public safety, don't ever do that. You do not want to go through a wood chipper. It is not going to be good for your body. It's not going to be good for your day. You are not going to be a happy camper at the end of it. If your wood ever gets stuck in something like this, you're going to want to turn it off, unplug it, make sure that it's not going to turn on in any way, and deal with it like that. We're also going to need something that we can get rid of the stumps with, so we'll buy this little guy. He's really, really cheap. He's not even $3 grand. He's like $2,649. So we'll buy him. He'll hook up on our tractor and be able to grind the stumps down once we cut the trees. And then it's just a matter of cutting wood and making a little bit of money. I'm also going to be buying everything I need to get started with the fields and the planting and all that. So in this series, you're going to get to see wood cutting. You're going to get to see plowing up fields. You're going to get to see harvesting. There's a lot that's going to be going on. You even get to see some big machinery operating, moving trees around once I cut them down, all that kind of stuff. And who knows, I might even decide to do animals at some point on this one. It's definitely possible. Because there's going to be areas that I'm not going to be able to plow because they're right next to the water and stuff. So I might put an animal pen there. So I could see myself possibly doing something. Now my goal for this game is going to be to plow up this entire map eventually. I want this entire map to be one field. I'm not going to make a bunch of different fields. I'm going to make one giant field that's going to be the entire map. And then we're going to plant it and harvest it and all that kind of stuff. And I want to see, without using crazy mods that can plow everything at once or go 100 miles an hour, I want to see how long it'll take to actually do it the right way without using special mods that enable you to do it all at once. That's going to be a very interesting thing to learn, and I want to see how much you get for one harvest. Now these are the posts that I was telling you about where I can get rid of everything. If you cut this signpost with a chainsaw, it will permanently remove every rock from the map. So you won't have to deal with rocks anymore. They'll be gone. This one will remove every tree from the map, so you don't have to deal with trees. So say I didn't want to cut down all these trees and sell them, I could just cut down that post and it's game over. No more trees. Now I'm going to show you, you can't do it unless you own the land. Right? I got to buy this square of land if I want to get rid of the rocks. So an easy way to do that is simply go to your map, go down to the square, which is the square with the shop, number 56, buy it. Okay? Cut down the signpost that you want to cut down. And then once you've done that, now there are no more rocks, so I've accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. I go back in and sell it and get my money back. So now I have the same amount of money I had before, and there's no rocks. I could do that with the trees as well, and I might at some point. If I get tired of cutting down trees, I might just do that and get rid of them all so we can get to plowing. But the goal for the beginning is to cut down the trees and sell them. A little bit later, I might buy a piece of machinery that can cut down the trees without having to use the chainsaw and everything. And then who knows, I might just get rid of all the trees all at once if I get tired of messing with trees. We're going to buy this cedar. This is a nice big one that has a 9-meter spread to it, so it can plant 9 meters at a time. It also direct drills, so you don't have to worry about cultivating. And it fertilizes at the same time it plants. So this is a triple threat. This is an amazing machine. I love this cedar. I use it on almost every game I play. There are some that are larger, but I just absolutely love this one. It is my favorite. So we'll take that down to the farm. And we're also going to need to buy a harvester. Now we have this bison here, and we had the TX32 that you saw in the last gameplay, but we have a bunch of different ones. I want to try this new one, this new bison that I just downloaded. It only requires 100 horsepower. It can harvest any crop you want other than your root crops. It can do all of your grains, and it can do corn and sunflowers and all that. So it does everything the other harvesters do, but it's really, really, really cheap. It's only going to cost me about 30 grand for this thing instead of 100 grand for the TX32. And that's even with putting a little sunroof on so that our guy is shaded when he's working. So 31,000, we're going to buy this guy. And then I have to buy a header for this that will be capable of harvesting soybeans, because that's what we're going to be planting in the beginning. We might end up planting oats later if I decide to do pellets. We shall see. But I have to find the proper header. I've never bought this one before, so I'm not exactly sure which header I'm going to need. I think it's this one here, ZO56H. I think that's what this is. That looks like the same thing, just without, I don't know. We're going to buy this one because it's cheaper. And worst case scenario, it's not the right one and I have to sell it. But this is only $8,100, so that'll do. So let's see if this hooks up. Make sure we don't have to buy a different header for it. I think that's kind of cool that he's just kind of sitting up on top of it. You can see him. I mean, yeah, it's kind of boxy looking and goofy looking, but that's okay. It'll do the job for now. Now later, we'll be buying a very large harvester that is capable of doing like 12 meters at a time and all that kind of stuff, but we just don't have the cash for that right now. That's going to run you about $500,000 by the time you put a header on it. And I do not have $500,000 yet, but we'll get there. And kind of the sky's the limit on this one, because I'm not really trying to make this ultra realistic to where I'm actually gaining the money as I go and everything. The whole point of this one, my goal for it, is to do the entire map as one field. That's what my ultimate goal is going to be at the end of the series. So, in all reality, if I wanted to do the government subsidy money mod to where I get $100,000 an hour, I could. It wouldn't be that big of a deal, because the whole point of this is I'm trying to get all of this plowed up. So I might end up doing that after a couple episodes if I decide that I'm not making money fast enough and I don't want to just waste time. But we'll see how it goes. It's going to be a lot of plowing in this series, so we'll see how that goes as well. Because plowing is very relaxing to do and very relaxing to watch. But I don't know how much plowing would be relaxing to watch. That's something we'll have to kind of judge together. Maybe I'll have to speed it up a little bit or something. But we're going to go ahead and plant this field here and see how that goes. I can already tell you I'm probably going to have to go back over it again, because you can see the weeds sticking up. That's a problem. So most likely what I'll do is I will go and grab my subsoiler plow and just go ahead and plow this whole field. That way I get rid of all the weeds. The weeds are turned off so they won't come back. I think that's the play here. Because otherwise my crops might start growing up, but there'll be weeds in them and I won't be able to harvest as much, and it's just not going to be pretty. So I'm going to run back to the shop and grab the subsoiler, and I'll be back with you when I get back to the farm with it. Alright, we're back here at the farm, and I decided to go ahead and bring my stump grinder as well on the front of the tractor. So we're going to get lined up here, and I'm going to plow this little field and get it ready to plant. Now I don't think that with this piece of machinery you can actually have a worker do it for you. I think I'm going to have to do it myself, and that's fine, because I'm going to be doing a lot of plowing in this series to get all of this plowed up into fields, so it's not a big deal. So this is basically plowing. You just go back over the land and you turn it back into a field that you can use. Now the good thing about this is it's going to get rid of all these damn weeds that are in this field so that I can plant in it and get the full yield of my crops. Now if you have weeds turned on, they will grow back, and you have to go through and spray, and if you catch them early enough, you can spray and get rid of the weeds. But if you do not catch them early enough, you have to have another piece of machinery that you go back over the field with again and actually digs up all the weeds. It's kind of a pain in the butt, and I just don't really enjoy doing it, so I usually turn weeds off. When they first added weeds to the game, I kept it on, and I actually did it for a while. But I just said, you know what? I don't like weeding in real life, and I definitely don't want to weed on a video game, so the hell with that. I turned it off, and I don't have to deal with it anymore. And I think that was a good call. Because all this is really doing is just adding an extra step that I don't really need to add. Now they also added lime to the game, and I decided in this series I would leave lime on so that you could see that process. And that's kind of a fun thing to do. You just spread the lime over the field and it turns the whole field white, and it's kind of pretty to look at, and it's kind of enjoyable and satisfying to do. But that's important to add nutrients back into your soil and make sure that your plants are going to have something to exist on, because you're going to fertilize as well. But your lime is kind of prepping your soil, getting it ready to be a ecosystem for not only your plants to grow, but also all the little bacteria and everything else that's needed to make those plants healthy and grow well. One thing I would love is if I could spread wood chips all over the ground and plant in that, because in real life that is a phenomenal way to do it. You will get a better yield and bigger crops than you have ever gotten in your life by planting in wood chips. As the wood chips break down and they begin to rot, all of that organic matter deteriorates and goes down into the soil, and it produces rich, dark, wonderful soil. I mean, essentially that's the way God did it. If you think about it, that's what a forest is. A forest, nobody ever goes into a forest and plows up the land in order for the forest to keep regrowing itself. Nobody ever goes in and fertilizes the forest. It just fertilizes itself. God set it up that way to where the leaves fall, the wind blows and knocks off the little limbs and stuff like that, and they all fall. The pine trees, the needles fall. All of that stuff makes a ground cover that keeps the sun from baking the soil, and it keeps the wind from blowing the soil away, so you still have topsoil, and it keeps it moist and wonderful. And as all that organic material rots and goes down into the soil, the nutrients are all replenished in the soil, because that is why the tree grew in the first place, is because it leached nutrients out of the soil to grow. All of those nutrients, all that goodness is still in the tree. So when the leaves fall, when the limbs fall, when the needles fall, those nutrients are returning back to the soil. They decompose, the nutrients go back into the soil, the tree reuses it. It's a cycle. It's wonderful how it works in nature. So by putting wood chips down, what you're essentially doing is recreating the perfection of a forest. And nothing works as good. I mean, you will grow more than you could ever imagine. It's unbelievable. I've seen it myself, how well it works. I've done it on a small scale, but I've seen people that have done it on a large scale, and they are having unbelievable results. So now we've got this all plowed up, and we are going to go through and plant it with soybeans. The reason I chose soybeans is because it's the highest paying crop, honestly. I don't have any real affinity for soybeans, but they pay more than anything else. And right now, what we need is cash. So that's the way to go. I'm not going to get much from it. It's a tiny little field, but I got my worker rolling on it. So we're going to jump off of here. Try not to get run over, sorry. And we're going to go ahead and start working on some trees while he's working on planting that field. Now we have all of these we need to cut up and throw in there. But also we have all these other trees we need to cut down and clear land so that we can expand our fields, make it larger, and plant more crops and get more money. So I'll probably finish up this one log. Here's a neat little trick too. You can actually move the entire giant log that you can't pick up by pushing it with one of the little ones you can pick up. It's kind of a cool little glitch the game has that you can use to move anything. Even things that are gigantic and huge. You can cut down one of those giant trees, cut one little sliver off of it, and move the whole tree with it. It's pretty cool how that works. That's a good little trick to use if you have pallets of stuff you need to move around that you can't pick up because they're too heavy, but you can't afford something to pick them up with. That's kind of a neat little cheat you can use. This thing is driving me crazy. It keeps getting stuck. Okay. So we have this pile to continue to work on, but I don't think I'm going to do too much more of it because I need to get over and start working on clearing some land. So maybe another piece or two, and then we'll get to work. This is addictive too. Making the wood chips is a hell of a lot of fun. I don't know why, but it's just so soothing. I love the sound of a chainsaw, and I've cut so much wood in my life that literally just by doing this on the game and I hear that chainsaw and I see that sawdust flying up, I can smell the sawdust. Now I know I can't really smell the sawdust, I'm not a crazy person, but I've done it so much that when I hear the sound and I have the visual cues of it, I can almost smell it. You know what I mean? I remember what that smell is like so vividly that it's almost there. And it's kind of cool. I really enjoy cutting wood. It's a lot of fun. I don't do it too much with a chainsaw anymore because I have a habit of bending the bar on the chainsaw because I will kind of not pay attention to what I'm doing sometimes. And I'm very careful when I'm cutting not to cut myself. But I have an affinity for getting stuck in pinch points for some reason. And what will happen is the bar will bend. And when the bar bends, what happens when you rev it is the chain will go flying off the damn thing. Now it doesn't leave the chainsaw completely because it kind of gets caught, but it doesn't stay on the bar. So what happens is you're cutting and the damn chain falls off of it and is hanging, and then you have to take the entire thing apart, you have to bend the bar back straight or replace the bar, and then you have to put the chain back on, and then you go start cutting again, and next thing you know, you done got it pinched again, and you done bent another bar. It's a pain in the ass. So what I usually do is I have several different styles of hand saws that I use, and I have a couple different axes. So I kind of like to do it the way they did it in the old days, where I just go kind of really chop down a tree with an axe, and then I use the saws, the hand saws, to saw it into bigger chunks. And then for the longest time, my grandfather and my uncle, they both sold wood. So there was always a wood splitter at my house that was gas powered. And so you just go out there and sit down on a chair and spend a couple hours splitting them giant blocks that you've sawed up and make a bunch of smaller ones, which is kind of cool. Basically, you're going to take the round piece and you're going to cut it in half and then cut each one of those halves in half, so you're quartering it. Each piece of wood that you're selling is going to be a quarter of the full round. Alright, let's go over... I'm kind of trying to figure out the dimensions here of my square so that I kind of know where I have to work on plowing for. So we're going to grab this trailer and we're going to head over and we're going to start cutting down a couple trees And we'll do the first trees like this. Maybe for this episode we'll cut trees this way. But probably by the next episode I will sell a bunch of trees and everything, and I will have enough money to buy a machine that will make this a much easier job. You got to make sure that you have this green circle. You also want to make sure, you notice how I didn't go all the way down with it. I went up a little bit. See how the stump is up a little higher? The reason for that is so that I can see it through the grass. Because when I come back to grind it, I need to be able to see where it is. It's very easy to lose those stumps in the grass and you can't see them at all. And then trying to find them is a pain in the butt. And then the problem is if you come through here with a harvester or another piece of equipment and you haven't removed the stump, it'll get hung up on it and you have a hell of a time getting it loose. Now see, a tree this size, I can pick up the entire thing at once and just take it over there and load it right into the machine and get rid of it. The problem is I'm not going to make barely anything off this. I'll be lucky if I get 20 or 30 bucks off this entire tree. Now if I cut it up into smaller pieces, I will make more. But for some reason when you put the entire thing in like this, it only pays you for the tiny bit of it, not the entirety of it, which is kind of silly. So we'll look, I got $18 for that tree, which is pathetic. But I could have cut it up and made more off of it, but I'm kind of lazy when it comes to that. I don't want to spend the time doing that. Now the bigger trees, you cut those down, and I'm going to cut those into logs, load them in my trailer, and haul them back over. I'll either cut them into logs big enough to stack, or maybe I will just cut them into pieces that I can pick up, because I'm going to have to be able to pick them up and put them in a trailer, and I'll just throw them directly into the wood chipper when I get over there. And at some point I'll probably buy like a skid loader or something like that that is capable of picking up the entire tree at once and hauling it over there as an entire log, and we'll just put it on our pile. And we'll make ourselves a nice big old pile. Now see, this one is too heavy. I can't pick it up this way like I did the last one. So what you do is you just cut it into smaller chunks, and then you pick up that piece that you just cut and you put it in your trailer. If I can make it grab it. For some reason he didn't grab it. Alright, so now I gotta run over here to my trailer. I'm gonna move my trailer closer. And you just drop it in. Kind of sat weird, didn't it? Let me lay this down. There we go. And that's all there is to it. And you just repeat that process multiple times. Now you can go into your landscaping tool and you can actually get rid of all these little bushes. You're going to want to go to a different screen than the one I'm on right now. You do that by pushing in the L button where it says change landscaping mode. When I did that, you notice that on the bottom right there's a little square. I can actually paint the ground with whatever is in that square. So I can put stone down, I can put sand, grass, whatever. I use grass and I just go over this little area with the bushes, just like that, and now as you can see the bushes are gone. I can see the stump a lot easier. I can also see the tree I'm trying to cut a lot easier. Now that does cost you money to do, but it's not a great deal of money. We're going to use that landscaping mode later to smooth out the ground so we can plow as well. I just remembered I said I was going to bring this trailer over there closer and I didn't, so let me go ahead and do that so I don't have to keep running as far. We'll bring that right over here beside it, so literally all we have to do is pick it up and set it in there. So then we're just going to cut pieces as large as we can possibly carry that will still fit in our trailer. Come on, pick it up. You can do it. There you go. And we'll just keep on doing this and make a little bit of money while we wait on our field to grow. And not only are we making a little bit of money doing this, but also we are clearing land so that we can expand our field so that the next time we plant it, we'll be able to plant more crops than we planted this time. So we'll make more money. Now we will reach a point where that really won't be that important anymore, because we will have all the money we could ever want, because we're not going to be buying a ton of different things. The main thing we have to buy from this point on, honestly, is just more plots of land. We can do everything we need to do with what we have. Now I will buy other machinery. I'll buy larger machinery to make what we're doing easier, but it's not absolutely necessary. So I'm just going to take this and throw it kind of far away. Didn't look as far away when I was in the tractor, but off the tractor it definitely looks like it's... Whoa! Kicked that thing right back at me, didn't it? Let me stand back here and throw it. The hell with standing up close to it. That would have hurt like hell in real life. Thing come right at my head. So I've decided that this machinery that I'm using is extraordinarily dangerous. It is, if I owned a piece of machinery in real life that did this, and every time I tried to use it, it either got stuck or shot the thing back in my face, I don't think I would use it anymore. Alright, so let me grab this stump grinder, and we're going to go ahead over here and grind these two stumps we just cut and get them out of our way completely. Now you can cut as many trees as you want before you grind the stumps. I like to grind every couple because I don't want to lose track of them. Because when you're trying to plow or you're trying to harvest or do anything else, these things become a super pain in the ass. And if you lose track of them and you don't know where they are, they will come back to bite you in the butt later. So it's better to just go ahead and get rid of them right away and make sure that you're not going to have a problem with them later. Okay, that is job done for that stump. It is completely gone. Now the other one is right here. So we're just going to repeat that. Now this machinery, this stump grinder, will operate on your 3-point hitch on the back of your tractor, and you can also use it on the front of your tractor if you have the ability to do so with the tractor you're using. Some tractors you can add that feature to, some tractors you can't. This particular tractor I can, so I can use it either in the front or the back, either way I want. But that's those stumps gone. So now I can go cut another tree. But I think what I'm going to do real quick before I do is clean up my mess. Because I want to try to pull up right next to it next time. So I can just stand on the trailer and throw it right in. That's the game plan. Now there are people that absolutely love forestry. There are whole maps dedicated just to forestry where there is no fields. You can't farm, you can't do anything. It's only cutting woods. It's just one giant, densely packed forest, and that's the whole reason you're playing, is just to cut wood. And there are people that love doing that, and you can make a great deal of money only cutting wood. I enjoy cutting wood as well, but I don't think it would make a very interesting series of videos to only cut wood. Now for those people that really enjoy forestry, it would. I think they would like it, but the majority of people kind of like to do everything. Alright, I can't cut this one because this is just off my property line. So I'm going to have to buy the property next to me in order to cut those down. And once I get to the point where I'm harvesting this, those trees will be an issue. So that's something that I'll have to do before I get to the point where I'm harvesting. So we will cut these guys down and just keep clearing land. That's really all there is to it. I can sit here and do this, and hours and hours and hours will go by. And you just kind of get lost in this world. And the great thing about doing it on the game is that you don't have a lot of the problems that you have in real life of running into yellow jacket nests. That's always a terrible thing. You don't have all the ticks to worry about. You don't have snakes to worry about, although I'm not really bothered by snakes that much. I'm not one of those people that are afraid of snakes. I will pick up a snake and move it and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't bother me. But there are some people like my uncle that he is scared to death of snakes. And he is not happy at all if he sees a snake. But me, I like them. I think they're interesting creatures. They play a vital role in nature. They're super important. Yes, they can be dangerous. If you run into a venomous snake, you might have a problem. But it's not like they're going to attack you. They don't go out of their way to chase you down. They don't want to eat you or nothing. Usually if you get bitten by a snake, it's because you're messing with the snake. Either you're about to step on it because you don't see it, and the snake is lashing out to defend itself, or you're one of those idiots that likes to poke things with sticks and stuff like that, and you're messing around with something that you shouldn't be messing around with, and you pay the price. Now, I'm not condoning anybody getting bit by a snake. That sucks. I'm sorry if you got bit by a snake. It's not fun. I've been bitten by a snake myself. The interesting thing is I never got bit by a snake while I was handling a snake. I've handled a lot of snakes in my life, and I've never been bitten while I was handling one. Now, I don't do it in church or anything like that. I'm not one of those people. But there's been times where I've gone to like a game and a snake has got out on the field, you know, like a little league game or something, or I'm in an area shopping or something and there's a black snake up on the sidewalk and everybody's freaking out. Those kind of times where I have stepped in and saved the snake and moved it out of everybody's way so it doesn't get killed. I also live way out in the country in the mountains, like I was saying, on multiple episodes of the radio show. And so we have snakes here, and it is not uncommon for there to be snakes in our driveway, for there to be snakes even in our house sometimes. And so I move those snakes when they appear. So I'm not afraid to mess with them, and I've never been bitten while I was handling one. The one time in my life that I was actually bit by a snake, I did not even know the snake was there. I was out fishing at night. We went catfishing, and I had bought a couple of those rod holders, those little metal doohickeys that spiral that you stick into the ground. And I figured this would be a great thing because I could just set up a couple poles, put them into the rod carriers or the rod holders or whatever the hell they're called, and I wouldn't have to stand there and hold the damn rod. I could go over and drink a beer or goof off or whatever, and when the fish actually bit, I just go pick up the rod and catch it. Now, I had never used one of those before in my life because I'd always fished the normal way. I'm a guy that I don't use live bait. I like lures, and I like actually working the lure, and that's part of the fun of fishing for me. But with catfish, one of the very best things you can use is like chicken livers and stuff like that. Stuff that's gross and stinky, because they love that. And you wrap that up in pantyhose, and you put it on a hook, and you chuck it out there, and you just let it sit until they bite it. So it can be extremely boring just holding a rod for half an hour waiting for a fish to bite it. So I thought that the rod holder would be a great idea. I would just put the rod in there, and I could do other things that were more exciting, and then once I got a bite, I would go grab it, and I would have a great time fishing. So that's exactly what I did. I baited up 2 poles, and I threw them out, and I put the poles down in the rod holders, and I went over and had a beer with my friends, and we had a little fire going in a little fire pit, and it was a nice time. Well, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, something like that went by, and the tip of my rod started bouncing. And I knew I had something on the line. So I ran over and reached down to grab the pole. Now, of course, you're catfishing. It's nighttime. It's pitch black out there. I'm down at the river. I can't see nothing. I don't have a flashlight. We don't have a lantern, nothing. The only light we have is the ambient light from the fire. So I reached down to grab my rod, and I feel this heat on my hand. It's hot. And I mean, not like hot like, oh, hey, it's summertime hot. I mean, like, it feels like somebody put a blowtorch on my hand. It's that kind of hot. And I'm like, oh, damn, that hurt. So I reel in the fish, and then I walk over to the fire to look at my hand and see what the hell happened. And I notice I have 2 holes in my hand. And I know instantly I just got bit by a snake. Because there's no mistaking those holes when you see them. So instantly I pulled out my knife and I cut an X over the snake bite, because that's what I was taught to do. And I sucked the venom out the best I could. And then I got in my car and I went to town, and I went to the rescue squad building, and I told them what had happened and showed them my hand. And they decided it would be a very good idea if they threw me on a little gurney and chucked me in the back of an ambulance and drove me to the hospital at 90 miles an hour. Because they thought it was an extremely big deal that I got bit by this snake. So I get to the hospital, and they decide they're going to just watch me and see how I'm doing. So I sit there for a couple hours, and I'm fine. I got a little lightheaded when I first sucked the venom out, but other than that, I was perfectly fine. I told them when I got to the hospital exactly what I had done, and they kind of gave me the 3rd degree for doing it. This is working so much better, just throwing it right from here. They gave me the 3rd degree because they said, you know how many bacteria are in your mouth and all this stuff. So they washed my hand out in the sink with iodine, and they just let me hang out on the bed for a while and wait to see what happened. So I never had any bad effects, so they never gave me anti-venom or nothing. I just hung out, and finally they sent me home. And I thought, well, that was lucky. I handled it myself, and everything worked out wonderfully. Until I got the bill in the mail. They wanted to charge me like $800 for washing my hand in the sink. That's all they did. And I just hung out other than that. But the bill was like $800 that I had to pay, which was absolutely ridiculous. So I decided that the better thing to do in the future, if it ever happens again, is I'm going to do exactly what I did the first time, which is suck the venom out myself, because that worked like a charm. But I'm not going back to the hospital unless I'm starting to feel bad effects from the bite. Because I don't want to pay another $800 just to have my hand washed in the sink. That's kind of a ripoff. I think that's a little bit ridiculous. I don't know what you think, but I think it's kind of robbery. This damn wood chipper is not working worth a damn. Okay, that's better. Let's jump back on the trailer and finish this up. But luckily, I've never been bitten since then. That's the only time in my life that it's ever happened. And it would not have happened had I seen the snake, because I'm always extremely careful when I'm handling a snake. That thing is kind of standing straight up there. I'm going to try to knock it down with this one. See if we can make both of them go at the same time. That'll be kind of neat. Ah, look at that. That was cool. I know, I'm easily amused by little things. That kind of made my whole day right there. That was kind of neat. All right, we got one more piece of wood left for this big old tree, and then it'll be done. And we can get back started on the next one if we want. Now, I'm trying to figure out exactly how I want to do this series, because a lot of it is going to be cutting trees and plowing land. So I might tell y'all a lot of different stories and stuff as we work. And I do a paranormal show, radio show, called Staring into the Abyss. And I know a tremendous amount of lore and legends and mythologies and all that kind of stuff. I've been studying that stuff since I was a little kid. So maybe I'll tell you some of my favorite legends, some of my favorite mythologies as we go. Things like that. I'll make it interesting so that you're not just sitting here watching me plow. And the only thing I'm saying is, okay, now I'm cutting the tree. Now I'm plowing. Now I need to turn around. That's going to suck. You're not going to want to watch that. So maybe I will share some of my favorite legends and lores and mythologies and ghost stories, just all kinds of cool stuff like that as we work on this farm. And maybe I'll speed up some of it. I don't know what I'll do yet. We'll see. I'll see how it goes, because next episode I'm going to be plowing a lot, because I'll have a good amount cleared to where I can start really plowing. And so once that starts, I'll kind of see how it goes and how it feels, and I'll kind of be able to judge a little bit better on what needs to happen, whether it needs to be sped up or what. But I mean, I reckon there's no reason I have to tell you every little thing I'm doing. I mean, you can kind of see, can't you? I mean, I'm just cutting wood. It's not rocket science. So if I start telling you stories about my life or talking about old mythologies and cool stuff like that, that wouldn't be a problem. You probably won't see anybody else playing Farming Simulator telling you old Cherokee legends or anything like that. It'll be kind of something different that you've never seen before, never heard before. And I'll try in the beginning to even make them farming related, to where they are old legends and stuff about farming and about different things like that. But I'm sure I'll get into all kinds of crazy stuff on this, because on the other series I'm doing, there's a lot more going on as far as animals and all that kind of stuff. So I can talk a lot more about the game, but with this one it's going to be a lot of plowing and cutting wood and planting and stuff like that. So I have a little bit more freedom to kind of talk about whatever I want while I do this stuff. So that'll be kind of interesting. Who knows where I'll go? I am a best-selling horror author, so I do have quite the imagination. And I am a master storyteller. Or so I've been told. You can judge that for yourself. I'm sure if you're somebody who's on the channel a lot, you've listened to the radio shows, you've heard me tell stories before about my life. You might have read my novels. Who knows? If you haven't read them, check them out. They're really good. A lot of people really like them. They've done really well. They all come from my nightmares. They're really, really bad. Really, really scary, graphic, horrible things. So if you're one of those people that watches something a little bit scary and has trouble sleeping and stuff, I probably would not recommend them to you, because they are extremely scary. So if you read my books, trust me, you're going to be looking behind you. The book critic for the New York Times read it, one of them, and he messaged me and said that he didn't sleep for 3 days after he read my first novel, I Am Legion. And I've had people tell me that they can't even eat hamburgers anymore after reading that book, which is kind of cool. I mean, it kind of sucks for them in a way, because, you know, I want you to be able to enjoy hamburgers. I'm sorry if I screwed that up for you, but they are definitely intense novels. But they are extremely interesting. My mother, if she even hears the music for the Halloween movies, she gets scared to death and has nightmares. So she does not like things that are scary. But she loves her son, so she decided she was going to read my first novel to support me, because she's an avid reader. She loves reading. So she picked it up and started reading it, and she realized within a couple pages that she had made a horrible mistake. And it was extremely scary, but she couldn't put it down. So that's about all the time that we have. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Till I speak to you again, love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do I. Bye-bye.